let's get some opposition views now on some of these issues. I'm being joined by the national chairman of the Young Democratic Party, YPP.
Young Progressive
Young
Party.
Progressive Party. Mr. Bishop Amakiri, thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thank you, Sean.
I know you are not happy with what happened, especially because you have a senator in the National Assembly. What happened? What's your grievance about the passage of the Electoral Act Amendment?
Well, Sean, first let me say it's a shame to all of us, including myself, politicians. And but that's not to say that it's irredeemable. No, the future is really bright. You know, once we can get progressive minds on board. What really happened, actually what played out in the last plenary, I would say it's a manifestation of what they call majority, who always have their way, and the minority will have their say. And I think that critical issues like this, that borders national issue, I think at some point, politicians should understand that we must jettison our parochial interests and bring forth national interests before us. I've had several, deliberations and maybe opinions as regards to this particular matter. I just heard the governor of Nasarawa State also talking about whether the spread of network in Nigeria actually is not that effective. And you continue to ask yourself questions. You know, how comes are we in this digital world where, even in Nigeria itself, we go to your communities, you can use your ATM to take money, and this thing that he has, like he also confirmed that it's all about 2023 election. Some people feel or think that the only game they know about winning election is rigging an election.
So you think those who voted against electronic voting wants to rig?
The frontline antagonist of this particular bill, that clause, that the one of transmission of practically are those people who actually know that if you go to the field, number one, they don't have the social capital. They had continued to win election on the basis of the business as usual syndrome, where they go rig election, pay people to take ballot boxes and all whatnot. And that's why they are afraid. And I see no reason why we will continue to be, in our country, political casualties just because we have problem, of leadership recruitment process. And this is the real problem we have today in Nigeria. If we are not going to solve this problem, Sean, then there's no need for us to be coming back here or back and forth discussing about some of these things. In the first instance, why will they throw us into this process of spending our money, going through this process? That was public hearings. What they are telling us is, no matter anything, the public, the Nigerian, the Nigerian public, no matter anything they say, to hell with what
the senator. The YPP has one senator. That's Senator Ifeanyi Uba.
Yes.
Can you give us an understanding? It was being listed as absent when the vote happened.
You saw what happened in the plenary when he rised up for an observation, and the president, Senate President, shut him down to tell him that no, he cannot give him that opportunity. Already, this discussion, I personally have been in touch with the senator, and I told him our stand. Before even that plenary, about last year, we staged a protest to National Assembly on electoral reform. And these are some of the issues that we itemized in our letter. We mentioned in our letter that we submitted to, the National Assembly. And the senator himself is aware that the position of the Young Progressives Party is nothing but to have something new, so that Nigerians will have hope that we are going to a new direction. But when the senator, stood up to talk, they shut him down because he's the only man in the Senate. And the Senate president just feel he has to use his powers, for not allowing him to
Are you
speak.
protesting that in any way?
Let me tell you one thing, Sean. The beauty about this is, I thank God I am a Nigerian. I'm proud to say this anywhere, any day, anytime. Even if you get me, if on gunpoint, I will always claim to be a Nigerian. what the consequences of what is happening today in the National Assembly, I think most of them don't understand that. There are people like us, people like me seated here. If my life will be taken or I will go to jail on this particular subject matter, I am prepared for that. Because I don't think I am ready to explain to my younger generations or my children that I was alive during when some of this shenanigans was taking place and I did not contribute my quota. The essence of us coming on board to participate in politics is to see how we can do something new, something different. And these people continue, to shut the mouths of people simply because they tell you they are majority. What do you mean by majority? Majority, okay, then no problem. They have had their way, like they said in the parliament. But let me tell you that the people who employ them, who took them where they are today, because no senator or House of Rep member, you only have one vote to vote for yourself. And I don't think one vote for yourself will take you to where you are. It is the people that will take you there. I am very, very sure, Seun, that there are Nigerians who are going to act on this particular matter.
Okay.
And I am not saying that they are going to, protests must not be with guns, okay? There are kind of protests that go, naturally.
But you're ready to push this to the very maximum extent?
Anything within the ambits of the law, we will continue to push this matter.
All right.
Because what we want for our country is to ensure that we have an egalitarian society where all citizens will actually be their chance to say, I am a citizen of Nigeria.
Right.
And one thing I think the parliamentarians are forgetting, the parliament stands to be the citadel of every democratic, nation. And if we're practicing democracy, I do not see the reason why we will not actually buy into new ideas. When the INEC chairman has confirmed that they can carry out elections, they can transmit this result.
Mr. Amakiri, I must sincerely thank you. But let's listen to INEC now. Mr. Festus Okoye was on Channels Television. Festus Okoye is a national commissioner with INEC, and this is what he has to say when he was asked about electronic transmission of results. Take a listen to the INEC man.
Our position has been clear, our position has been consistent, and that is that this particular commission is irrevocably committed to deepening the use of technology in the electoral process, and that we want broad powers to enable us deploy relevant technology in the electoral process. As we are aware, this particular commission has been test running different technological solutions in the electoral process for quite some time. And if you also look at some of the elections we have organized since 2020, you can see that we have uploaded the results of 22 elections, including state assembly elections, House of Representatives elections, senatorial elections, and governorship elections into our central portal, where the public had an opportunity of viewing them. Now, these elections that we have uploaded course across all the 6 geopolitical zones. So we have uploaded results from very remote areas, even from areas where you have to use human carriers to access. We have uploaded results from those areas. So we have made our own position very, very clear that we have the capacity and we have the will to deepen the use of technology in the electoral process. But as I say, our powers are given by the Constitution and the law, and will continue to remain within the ambit and confines of the powers granted to the Commission by the Constitution and by the law.
I'm now being joined on the program by a former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, a former presidential candidate in 2019, and a lawyer, Professor Kingsley Mohalu. He joins us from Lagos. Thank you so much, Prof, for joining us tonight on the program.
Thank you, Sharon.
Get your views straight away. Some who have criticized this position, as a lawyer, do you see any constitutional contradiction in what the Senate, for example, passed?
Yes, there is a massive contradiction, because INEC is a body established by the Constitution, and it's given its powers and its functions by the Constitution. And then there is no law that, if it contradicts the Constitution, I think should be able to stand. So the National Assembly may make laws, but they should make laws consistent with the Constitution. If the INEC is an independent electoral body, you cannot subject its work to the say-so of another body of government, in this case, the National Communications Commission. And even more unbelievably, the National Assembly itself. So the National Assembly wants to be a referee in a match in which it is one side. It is a player, because INEC oversees results, elections into the National Assembly. So for those results to take place, INEC itself has to certify has to go to the National Assembly for the Assembly to certify that it can use electronic transmission of results. It's obviously not a reasonable situation. So I do see a problem legally, constitutionally with this, because there is a case of nemo judex in causa sua. You cannot be a judge in your own cause, and the National Assembly is making itself a judge in its own cause. So that's one fundamental. The independence of institutions in our country is being excavated by these tortuous, contorting decisions. Now, practically speaking, INEC itself has told you and has told the whole country that it can transmit results electronically. And they've given you examples of what they've done. And some people are trying to tell us otherwise. The problem is that Nigeria, from this decision of the National Assembly, it is clear that what we have as what we call democracy is, government by politicians, for politicians, of politicians. The people of Nigeria do not matter to Nigeria's National Assembly or those who voted for this outcome. It's obvious. They're there to perpetuate themselves. They don't want any interference in the possibility of their perpetuating themselves. They want this to be selections, not elections. And some people clearly want to continue to come back to power through rigging elections. That's what this is all about. Nobody was born yesterday. And so it tells you how powerful, how desperate, how greedy the vested interests that are holding the people of this country down are. It's such a shame. This day will live in infamy. Go and mark it down. That this decision that the National Assembly has taken, the consequences of it will reverberate far into the future. And they will find out when it's too late that they shot themselves in the foot.
Section 4 of the Nigerian Constitution, subsection 5 of that section, 1999 as amended, speaks volume about the inconsistency of our laws and the bodies of our laws, and how the supremacy of the ground norm, the Nigerian Constitution. And the Constitution also validly gives INEC the powers from section 71 to 79, precisely 78, which talks about the powers of INEC to be able to use its discretion in exercising its guideline in administering Nigerian elections. So the question here is whether or not the Harmonization Committee, when they make their conference, we agree to the condition that is being provided, the proviso that the INEC will have to rely on the NCC and the approval of the National Assembly to give permission to electronically transmit the result. The House did not pass it that way. It says it may, and some people have arguments that should be the word to be used there to concretize that position. But what do you see when these kind of contradictions come? For those who believe that Section 78 will override that Clause 52 and that can be challenged when any case arises, what do you foresee?
Well, I foresee that except the Harmonization Committee, create a clean bill that removes these conditions, of the NCC and the National Assembly having to certify something before INEC can play its constitutional role. If that is not done, any legislation that carries this type of fundamental contradiction can be challenged up to the Supreme Court, and it should be challenged. And I believe the Supreme Court ought to rule such a law unconstitutional. There's no question in my mind about it. INEC should be allowed to do its job, period. And it is very clear some people don't want it to do its job. I mean, somebody spoke earlier on. I was deputy governor of the Central Bank, and I supervised the introduction of the bank verification number, where you now have reliable 40 million Nigerians with their data being able to undertake efficient payments transactions. We created the POS and electronic banking. So every aspect of life in this country is moving digital, including in my village. And somebody in the National Assembly is telling me about coverage here, coverage there. Come on, tell that to a 2-month-old baby.
Prof, another issue is that, as far as I know, I'm a journalist and I cover politics, so my expertise may not be in technology, but for the little that I know, as far back as 2010, there is such a technology, even a simple access control into an office where you use your thumb or you use your access card for control. It can store data and information into its server temporarily when there is an outage of connection or network, either Ethernet or internet, in such a way that when it is restored, it then comes back into his memory or functions normally. But the fears of the lawmakers who say, look, from their own side, because the governor of Nasarawa said earlier on that we might have better network in the south than we have in the northern region of the country. And we see the kind of insurgency in the northeastern region of the country. You heard what the Senate president also said, that we cannot have a situation where a country we go to vote is only half of the population that will vote. How do you explain this kind of situation? And politically, of course, the number in the National Assembly, when you have more people to vote, and that's what democracy is all about.
Yes, that's what democracy is all about. There's no question about it, but there's a question of whether the people are voting on behalf of the people or they're voting on behalf of their vested interests. That's the issue. And this is not a matter of, it's not a regional issue. Anybody trying to bring in North and South here, I don't think it's a fair conversation to pursue. There is nowhere in the world, not even in the United States or advanced countries, where electronic coverage is 100% all the time. There are places in the US you'll be traveling to, you may not have good network. It doesn't mean that electronic transmission of results will not be able to work. The INEC itself has assured you that they have different alternative ways as backups, to ensure a fair outcome for everybody in the country, no matter what part of the country you're in. That assurance from the body that the Constitution has given the mandate to see to it that our elections are credible should be enough. We don't need the National Assembly trying to micromanage INEC or trying to subject INEC to yet another body of government. So it obviously it's not a sensible legislation, and it does not promote good faith, even if the numbers may pass it. So we hope that the harmonization will sort this out. As you can see, this is a very unpopular piece of legislation. It's obvious, even to the people who have passed it. And the fact that some people, were conveniently absent, I think tells you something very good. And that is that Nigerians are gradually waking up to their rights. And that people were either dodging doing the right thing, some people, or some people did the wrong thing in defense of their vested interests, regardless of the consequences for public opinion and for democracy itself in Nigeria. So Nigerians are upset about this. And, I think we have not seen the end of this story. I don't think we have.
So Kingsley Mhalu, it's always very good to draw out some of your expertise, whether it's in economics or is in law. Tonight is law, and thank you so much for sharing your views, perhaps for a story that is unending, and perhaps we will see more of it in the coming days. But sincere thanks to you for your time tonight, Professor Kingsley Mhalu.
You're welcome, Sharon. Thank you.
You're welcome, Sharon. Thank you. Just for us to go now, let me get a final thought. Where do we go from here? Just 30 seconds.
Okay, Shaun, I think I'll end by saying any politician who claims to be, a democratic person and have joy in operating under, the norms of constitutional delinquent, I think should be shown the way. And let me paraphrase the word of one of the American founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, who was president from 1801 to 1809. He said, when injustice becomes law, resistance becomes a duty. So what that means is that they should know that if they no one do what Nigerians want, Nigerians go show them the way.
Bishop Amakiri, the national chairman of YPP, thank you so much for your time. It's always a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
And that's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for again at 7 p.m. tomorrow. I'm Sean Kimale. Bye for now.